Officer John O'Keefe, who was off duty, was found dead on Fairview Road yesterday morning. She was stabbed at least 11 times in her head, her neck, and her throat.
Who does live here? Is your place?
Yeah. Noah had passed away, and nothing makes sense to it.
We actually don't have, like, crosswalks.
Kitchen's a bloody mess. She's not breathing.
Why is the kitchen a bloody mess?
I don't know.
The 4chan post is a little hard to read if you don't speak doofus, so I'm gonna break it down for you.
The 4-day party turned into something awful.
There's been a major break in the Amber Spradlin murder cover-up.
The student president of the fraternity told us that they got word from National to instruct all of their members to delete all their social media.
His girlfriend is now charged.
Maybe this is his tooth. Right here. His pants were folded up.
And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
I just thought that there was a lot of acting happening.
This was my client's boyfriend, somebody with whom she was in love.
Stabbed him lightly in the back just to get him off of me.
That she had to remember the bad times.
And his body was here.
You've never been in a fight?
No.
Is that what's happening? Are you crying right now?
Do you know what tears look like?
Karen Reed was a whack job cunt. Right?
Yes.
That something happened at the party that he was attending the night before.
If you have anything that you want to tell us,
cry on demand.
People know and they need to speak up.
Falling from a moving vehicle as a pedestrian, maybe being pushed out. It could also arise from an attack.
I will fuck you up. I will beat your ass.
Laying on the side.
Stabbed her.
Just had his eyes closed, you know.
I saw her lifeless body.
2:42 a.m. and 2:44 a.m.
That's a cop killer right there.
John's dead.
Top of his hair was scraped off his head.
And she said, Google hypothermia, Google how long it takes to die in the cold.
It's easy to pass a polygraph.
I hit him. Oh my God, I hit him.
Said, if you want to talk about it, I'll talk about it.
Constant phone calls.
Seriously, what do you want with me?
Did you ever say I hit him?
I did not.
I said I hit him
It was several times.
because he's dead.
Somebody had to have known something. Somebody had to have told a friend that they know.
Karen, we saw you outside of my sister's.
It's been the hardest time of my life.
We couldn't leave the house without people taking pictures of us.
Just like a lot of harassment.
I know it has to be eating them up inside.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next chapter in the Karen Reed saga. I mean, it seems like they're just throwing whatever they can at the wall at the moment, and tomorrow she will be back in court. We're going to hear the ridiculous motions about the hearsay from the jurors, and I don't know what else they'll discuss tomorrow, but we might get an idea of what the next offense might look like. And there's been a lot going on this week, and I have a video that sums it up. Karen Reed, America's favorite sweetheart. America's favorite cop killer.
That body wasn't hit by my car.
America's favorite balloon knot.
Lombardi noticed broken balloons in her yard, followed by brown grass.
America's favorite victim.
I'm hot, the hillside. Low comps.
So if you live in Massachusetts, you cannot get away from the Free Karen Reed cult. They're pink, they're loud, they're unhinged, they're unemployed, and they're everywhere. And they have a lot of free time on their hands. So they have rallied behind Karen Reed, which, maybe she was framed. When I first heard about this case, I thought, it all lines up. I've seen the documentary The Thin Blue Line. I know that people can be framed. A lot of the facts that they threw out in the beginning did make it appear like she was framed. The problem is that as of 2 weeks ago, we have gotten all of the exhibits in the case. We have all of the evidence to look at, and she was not framed. Her entire story was that she dropped John O'Keefe at this house. He walked inside, and she never heard from him again.
Karen says they pulled up to the house and she waited in her SUV while John went to check things out.
She says she watched him go to the door, put his head inside, then nothing.
I texted him, I called him, and within minutes of him exiting my car is not answering his phone. Minutes. So
What happens next?
I left.
She drove home, fell asleep.
We have her call logs. We know that she never called or texted while she was outside that house. Her story all along was that she was so angry because he went into this house to see if it was okay if they came in, and he stopped responding to her, and that's why she was angry. But now we know there was no correspondence between her and him until she was speeding away from that house. And this is data. This is indisputable data. So she never called or texted him like she said she did. Her first text, 12:55. So the question is, what is her story now? Because we know she wasn't angry about him not answering her calls and texts. We know that was a lie.
I texted him, I called him, and within minutes of him exiting my car is not answering his phone. Minutes. So
What happens next?
I left.
That tells us that they were arguing in the car. That was the argument. They were arguing when he got out of the car. And if anyone is going to try to say that he went into the house and she peacefully waited out there for 10 minutes without one call or text to him and then sped away, you're a moron.
Minutes.
She's been feeding the public this story that keeps falling apart. Now we know that she never called or texted him while she was outside the house. We know that the whole reason for her being mad was a lie, and that they were fighting prior to arriving. Now, Richard Green has pretty much destroyed his reputation as a forensic analyst. He testified to things that everyone in the forensic data community knows is not true. He testified to calls being answered when they weren't. Now, if we were having Rick Green analyze Karen's phone data, he would say that every single one of those 53 calls to John O'Keefe was answered, because that's how he reads the reports. Whatever the report says, it's true. You don't think about it. She called him 53 times. They were all answered, according to him. Now, we know How Long to Die in Cold did not happen. The software developer themselves came out and clarified it. They've released 2 articles clarifying it. There's no possible way that search happened the night before. Now, MicroDolts released a video a couple of weeks ago about Jen McCabe, about the 2:27 a.m. Google search, and about calling her sister right after 911 and giving her a secret message saying, someone's coming out to help. The problem is, that video has now been deleted, just disappeared from the face of the earth, because now we have the evidence released to us. The phone calls. We have the 911 call, and someone took that 911 call, aligned it with MicroDolts video, and found that comment was made while Jen McCabe was still on the call with 911.
And how big's the pool of blood, if there is any?
Something's coming out of his nose, and one of the women is doing CPR.
And how big's the pool of blood, if there is any?
Something's coming out of his nose, and one of the women is doing CPR. Something's coming out of his nose. 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 Something's coming out of his nose.
So if MicroDolts had any integrity or any truth behind anything that he posts, he would have come out and said, I stand corrected, this is what happened, this is the video, she was talking to 911. But no, instead they just delete the video and try to pretend it never ever happened. But it did happen, and we see you. We know MicroDolts is working for Karen Read. We know MicroDolts is pushing out conspiracy after conspiracy, and whatever MicroDolts pushes out, you can kind of guarantee that that's going to be part of the defense next time. So right now I think they're trying to figure it out because everything Karen said has fallen apart. Now the 12:45 timeline that she originally gave to police would have helped her out a lot, because if she did drop him off at 12:45, that means that she did call him those times while he was inside the house. The problem is that she connected to the Wi-Fi at 12:36, proving that she never called him, never texted him while she was outside the house. What does that prove? It proves that if they were arguing when she hit him, that is malice aforethought. That is intent to do harm. That is murder in the second degree. That hit did not kill him, but she had 4 hours to call 911 after that. And instead, she just kept calling John O'Keefe incessantly. She called her parents. She called other people and said he's dead on the side of the road, hit by a plow. She woke up his niece and said, I think I might have done something. What could have happened? So unless you think that Karen Reed is psychic and she had a premonition that he was dying on the side of the road just coincidentally, she hit him. And she called people talking about her taillight before she ever left the house. So before she had the chance to crack it while backing into his bumper at like 2 miles an hour.
Karen, how did the taillight get damaged?
You saw it. I backed up into John's car.
At that speed, no.
Most of us with the brain never believed that in the first place, but I mean, there's literally no explanation for it. She was calling saying these things before she even left the house. And if you did drop your significant other off at a home in a rage, where would you look first? Would you canvass the neighborhood? No. You would go to that house and bang on the door. Especially he didn't have a jacket. Especially it was a blizzard. I think it's quite clear that she went back to the house that morning before meeting up with Kerry and Jen. And that's why she was so hysterical when she got in the car with them. So now we have Juror Doe this week asking to have their names impounded indefinitely. All of the jurors' names because, you know, they say it quite clearly. They don't want to be harassed. And we know that they will be harassed. Like, look at this. The judge is being harassed in this case right now. I mean, the Karen Reed supporters are out of their minds.
You are a gracious power of example to so many of us.
Unhinged.
Hope great things come your way.
Hi, Karen. Happy birthday.
Because you're part of the selected few. I'm talking about me, common folks. I'm talking about me, the random citizen.
Unintelligent.
Happy birthday, Karen. We're all behind you. We got your back.
Listen! Just to 8 hours of the defense. Credible witness, highly credentialed. That's all you have to listen to. Case over. Free Karen Reed. Free Karen Reed.
Unemployed.
Hey, Karen.
Love you.
Happy birthday, Karen.
Hey, Karen. It's Brian here from LTL.
I mean, that's a deadly combination. Now we know that Yuri Buchanan is investigating the intimidation of witnesses now. We heard that crazy lady telling Elizabeth Proctor she's going to take our dogs and our kids.
I know Karen Reed didn't kill John O'Keefe. I know your husband didn't interview the plow truck driver. I know your husband didn't interview how many people that were in that house? I know your husband spelled multiple people's names wrong, and I know your husband is either the worst fucking investigator that ever walked the face of the earth, or he's a corrupt motherfucker. So I'm gonna go with number 2. He's corrupt, and you're going to jail along with him, and your kids are gonna call me mommy. And I'm gonna take your dogs too.
These people are unhinged. So now that it seems that the Commonwealth is pursuing the intimidation and the harassment of the witnesses, suddenly there's dead turtles hanging around and bleach balloons getting thrown around on people's lawns.
Started as a small section of browning in the front of her yard.
Then I noticed a balloon, a water balloon that hadn't been popped.
None of this made sense to Rita Lombardi until she talked to her neighbor around the corner.
Bleach thrown on her beautiful flowers and vegetables.
Over the course of a week, Lombardi noticed broken balloons in her yard followed by brown grass. She called Canton police. So did Brenda Sweeney. Sweeney didn't find balloons, just the smell of bleach and a destroyed garden.
Normally this whole fence is full of flowers in the front and vegetables in the back, and we started noticing patches of it dying.
It's no secret Lombardi and Sweeney speak their mind at the town select board meetings along with Jen O'Donnell.
Take
your hands off me!
You could see O'Donnell getting into it with police at the last meeting.
We are looking for truth and accountability, and a lot of it came to light with the John O'Keefe murder, that we had some issues in this town.
You know, could it be a coincidence? Could it just be random kids vandalizing? Maybe. Could it be targeted to these people? Maybe. Could it be that these people are doing things to make the harassment look balanced? Yes, it very well could be. And we know that Rita is a furry.
No, they all did. They all covered it up. And how do I know this? From their own mouths, from their own testimony.
And her secret is out, and she is not happy about it.
Their stories were told that were completely inconsistent.
So anything to distract from her in that wolf costume. So tomorrow, July 22nd, we'll find out what new lies Karen Reed has concocted. So now Karen Reed is heading into trial number 2. She put her house up for sale, and you know, I don't know who would ever want to live there. It looks really cold, just like Karen. And tomorrow we'll hear the hearsay evidence about the jurors. I don't know what argument really is to be had because there's no legal basis to call back jurors after they've been released. They didn't reach a verdict. You know, our court system does not allow for like do-overs. You can't just call a jury back in and be like, are you sure you wanted to make that decision? There's a separation so that jurors cannot be influenced by the judge or the counsel. They are to act on their own, and they acted on their own. They said they couldn't decide on anything, and they were released. And that's the end of the story. The only reason that they filed all of these motions is to keep the conspiracy, the cover-up front and center, so that the facts of the case are not discussed. Because when you look at the evidence and you look at the facts, it's indisputable that Karen Reed killed John O'Keefe. It's undeniable. And so if they can push this out, and now the judge is part of the conspiracy, like maybe they're going to try to get another judge, like it's all bullshit. It's pretty telling what kind of person you're dealing with when this House of Cards conspiracy theory keeps falling apart and people just dig their heels in deeper, distract, discuss anything except for the facts of this case, because the facts of this case prove without a doubt that Karen Reed killed John O'Keefe. Not only did she kill him, she killed him when they were in a fight, when they were arguing. And not only that, but she knew what she did, went back and looked at the body, and never called 911. Lock her up. Lock her up. Yes, tomorrow is the next court date. I'm sure it's going to be a circus. I thought about going, but I'm going to be in the area. I was going to be in the area, but I won't be there. But I just have a feeling it's going to be a huge circus because things have been festering. I think a lot more people are on the opposite side. Like, people see the Karen Reed supporters as crazy. They're loud, and a lot of people don't want to deal with these people. They don't want to say anything. They don't want people harassing them, you know? And so they've been quiet, but I think that people are kind of getting fed up at this point. And maybe there'll be more people on the side of John O'Keefe tomorrow. It's hard to tell because, I mean, people really, what benefit are you going to get from arguing with these people? Because these people are not logically looking at anything. You're not going to convince them to change their mind. It's just toxic and stressful, and I don't know. I don't even like dealing with it online. I'm over it. I'm like trying to be off social media. I'm paying attention to what's going on, but I'm totally like taking a step back from this because it's so toxic. Like, these people are so toxic, and they just want you You can explain the same thing to them over and over and over, and it's like they just want to argue. They're just trolls. Like, it's not a real movement. I don't believe that they believe that she's innocent. A lot of them. I think some of them probably do, but like I think a lot of them do not. A lot of them, it's all about trolling. It's all about uniting in hatred for the other side. And it's, you know, they get off on it. They enjoy the toxicity of it. And I think normal people do not. It's draining to me. I think it's draining to most normal people. So it's like, do you really want to like get into it with them? I don't know. There really is no point in discussing it. Like I'll put out videos, I'll do that, but I'm not talking to people in comments anymore. It's so aggravating. Because they're just dumb. Like they're not. I don't believe that a lot of them. I just think that they've committed to her being innocent, and it does not matter. There could be a video that comes out showing her doing it, and they still would not believe it, or they still would say they didn't. You can argue with an idiot. They are toxic and bad energy. They really are. I mean, I've been through it with toxic energy. I don't even go on Facebook anymore because Facebook turned into like a toxic hellhole. Twitter, I really didn't ever use Twitter until this case, and that is just like how Facebook used to be around election time. And I just don't like it. It's just so toxic. It's so draining. It's awful. But a lot of these people, like the Turtle Boy followers, that is what they do. Like that is their full time. I don't know if they have jobs. I don't know what's going on, but it seems like they don't have jobs and all they do is troll on social media for this case. So, I mean, I guess they're getting a check from somewhere, but they enjoy it. They're not fighting for anything. They're not fighting for like corruption. They are just trolling. And that's what they've always done, because Turtle Boy used to write articles about, you know, single mothers, like women with fupas, and whoever he directed the article at, they would all get attacked by his clan of idiots. And that is why Karen chose Turtle Boy, because she knew that he had that cult leader power, and that whatever he said, whatever she said to him, and then he repeated, would be magnified, mindlessly magnified. And that's what this is. And that's why it's gotten so big. Because once it's a mob, because Turtle Boy already had a mob in place, right? So, and once there's a mob saying things, when it seems like the majority, even if it's not the majority, if you have a louder group of people, more and more people will join the mob, because that's just how it works. We've seen it in, you know, the Salem witch trials, 1930s Germany. You know, people join the safe side. A lot of people don't want to think. They don't want to be on the wrong side, on the minority side, ever, even if it is the right thing to do. Most people don't stick up for what is right. And I've seen that a lot in life, and it's sad, but most people really do not stick up for the right thing. Most people want to go along with the popular opinion, and that's everything, like everything, in jobs and politics, like your family, like everything. There's some people that have strong moral convictions and will, you know, stand against the grain if they see something that's wrong. But that is not most people, like at all. Most people are looking for someone to tell them how to think. Like, even if you think about our cable channels or YouTube channels, people are looking for people to tell them exactly what to think, exactly what responses should be. You know, they're looking for the spin, especially in this case. And that's why those channels have so many viewers on this case, because they need to know, oh shit, now she never called him. Like she said that she was sitting outside calling. Now we know that she never called. So like, now what are we going to say? What are we going to say? And like, I'm sure that people are putting a spin on it. I know Turtle Boy has no shame whatsoever changing a story and putting a spin on things. And I mean, a lot of the other ones, I don't really watch them, so I don't really know. I just know that when these people are arguing with me, they're all always saying the same thing. So they are getting it from a central source. And it never really makes any sense, you know, but it's always the same argument. They're always on the same exact wavelength. So like it was physics and science right at the end of the trial. Like Rita was saying it, like everyone was saying it. And, you know, they don't have their own thoughts. Like if I present something in an argument to them that they didn't know about, they will scurry away and go silent, and, you know, they'll discuss it with the rest of the mob and like try to come up with something. Or they just don't want to bring it up, or they just don't want to talk about it. They only want to repeat the program stuff that they've gotten from the rest of the people. And it's sick. I mean, like in this day and age, we're in the age of information. People should not be doing that. I mean, if you think about it, like the people that benefit from us being mindless followers are the wealthy people that are already taking all of the money from all of us and taking all of the everything. And so, you know, this is just a microcosm of society, but in general, it is the same BS over and over and over everywhere you see it, in jobs and every kind of structure. Family structures. I mean, family structures, it depends on if you have a healthy family or a toxic family. But I mean, I think there's a lot of toxic families. So a lot of people that if you don't agree with your family, you kind of like go out on your own and you don't really. But if you want to live that close family lifestyle where you get along with everybody and you do everything together, you have to submit. And I think that's how it is in society in general. If you're going to be popular, you have to submit. If you're going to have 1 million followers, you have to submit to whatever the popular view is. And so I don't know what people are like thinking, or like what motivates them, because I just feel like you have to feel bad. You have to, like, especially with Jen McCabe. So like we know that Rick Green was pretty much, you know, backtracked everything that he said. And the MicroDolts video came out about Jen McCabe, and now that's been deleted because no, Jen McCabe didn't call her sister and give her sister a private message. And people feel bad that they've been harassing her for a year? I don't think they do. I don't think they do at all. They just want to find something else to go after her about. And that's what it is. They've already decided on what the enemies are. And it's just gross. I mean, they're still talking about Colin. I'm like, how is Colin's name even still in this at this point? It's so bizarre. And I know, like, the Innocence, what is it called? Innocence Fraud. There's a blog called Innocence Fraud, and I think they have a lot of really good information. They have links to like all the documents. They call out a lot of the like inconsistencies in the stories. It's really, I don't know who does it, but it's a really good, like, links to everything, links to videos, links to the exhibits. And because I'm not good at, you know, getting the information, doing the FOIA requests. I usually just, whenever someone else posts it, that's where I get it from. So I'm not good at like getting that stuff, but once I get it, like, I do read them. So I'm wondering if there's the Life 360 data. Like, I would love to get that. I'm sure that it's in there somewhere. But the Life 360 data, because I just want to put this goddamn Colin Albert stuff to bed. It's like, the reason I think the 360 data is good is because they didn't even cross-examine Allie McCabe about the about whether she drove Colin home. So I think that it supports that she drove him home, because they didn't cross-examine her about that at all. So I think I just want to see, I don't know, they just never followed up with it. They didn't follow up with a lot of the data, and I feel like they should have. I don't know, it's kind of frustrating because, like, like they got to cross-examine people. I don't know. I think the Commonwealth was kind of like messy how they did their case in general, because they cross-examined people about the data. Like, why does it say this in the report? They say butt dials because they're like, I don't fucking know. I don't remember making a call. And so it looks bad when I don't know how you really organize it or like how it's done, but I just feel like they need to have better responses for that stuff, because then it lingers that it's a butt dial and that they don't know. And did she have all these missed calls? I don't think that she even did. I think that Rick Green was total, or that she deleted calls. Like, they never went back over that, and they should have, because those calls were not deleted. Like, it was the wall log that Rick Green was looking at. Almost everything in Rick Green's original report was wrong. And they just didn't call that out. And I just don't know. I don't know how you would call it out, though. I guess because the defense witness is going to go last. His affidavit that he filed previously isn't an exhibit, I don't think. So I don't know. It's just messy, because he fraudulently claimed a lot of things. And then Jen McCabe was cross-examined on those claims that were not true. And Jen McCabe's not an expert, so how is she supposed to like navigate that? All she can say is, I don't remember, it was a butt dial. So it's just really frustrating that, I don't know, they just didn't do it. I don't know how. I don't know if there is a better way. I'm sure there has to be. So Dr. Kenneth Kinsey, well-renowned expert, said publicly, it's not dog bites. I mean, I know they're not dog bites. I'm shocked that people are still saying they're dog bites. I mean, the expert that they got to say that was so out there. It's so bizarre. So bizarre. So the report the extraction came from Garino. And then with that extraction, they run it through their tools. And so the tools will be Celebrate or whatever. I think in the case of Celebrate, I feel like maybe it was already run through the tool. But the problem is that he's attributing the wrong analysis to a lot of the data. So all of the calls say answered. All of Karen's calls to John O'Keefe say answered. So that would tell you, I'm not an analyst, but I can look at that extract and look at Jen McCabe's extract and come to the conclusion that, answered means that it went to voicemail, right? So they cross-examined Jen McCabe saying, your sister answered those 2 calls. And Jen McCabe's like, I don't know. I don't remember. Like, no, she didn't answer. Like, I don't remember when I hung up. I don't remember this and that. Of course she doesn't remember. But the problem is, like, he's an expert and he purposely is putting out this misinformation. So they have something to like go after her about. So that was the main thing, is the calls being deleted also. So they're wall logs for your recent calls on your phone. They only last when they're recent. I don't know how many sit in there. Maybe it's 10, 15. Like, I'm not really sure. But the recent ones are there. And as they become not recent anymore, they're not there anymore. They're in your archive folder, but that's not a user deleting them. And that's what he made it out to be. He made it out to be that she was deleting those calls. It says, it doesn't even say deleted. It says recovered. And so recovered means that it wasn't there, but they recovered it from like another database. So probably the archive database, but it wasn't in the wall log, because the wall log only holds your most recent items. And then they compared it to Karen Reed. Well, Karen Reed's phone didn't have anything like deleted. Karen Reed's phone was confiscated that same day. So all of her recent stuff was still recent. Jen McCabe's was like 4 days later. And she was probably, she just found a dead body. Like, how many people would you talk to right after you found a dead body? Her phone was probably ringing off the hook. So like, her calls were not still in the recent section. And that's all it was. And just allowing them to push that out, because Jen McCabe can't argue it. She doesn't know why it shows like that in the report. Like, it's just so sketchy. And by the time that they have like Nick Garino, which he could have explained it, and I think he did, he didn't get into the details of it, but the jurors don't remember. The jurors just remember that Jen McCabe couldn't remember why she deleted calls, why she did all these butt dials. Like, it's just such a scam. And so Rick Green really should be, I mean, if anyone committed perjury in this case, it's Rick Green. Because perjury, it's not just you said something wrong. So, you know, eyewitnesses get stuff wrong all the time. Perjury is saying something that would change the outcome of the case. I don't know if any jurors believed Rick Green, but a lot of the stuff that he said definitely changed, you know, people's way of looking at the case. Because when he came out and said, "How long to die in cold," that search came in the night before, a lot of people were like, "Oh, well, that just seals the deal." And a lot of people switched to the conspiracy. Like, I think that was the main thing that made me think, well, that's not explainable. But I didn't know the data behind it. I didn't know that it was a disputable thing. I didn't know that the software developer was going to come out and be like, "You're purposely reading this wrong." It's when the tab took focus or whatever, and that's what the 2 blogs I wrote are about. It's about the timestamp of the browser state, whatever it's called, this browser state, suspended state tabs or whatever. The timestamp is when that tab took focus. And so if you never minimize it and pulled up another tab, then that would still have the old timestamp on it. And whenever you search on that tab, it's going to update that information, but the old timestamp is still going to be there until you put it to the background and open a new tab. And then the timestamps will update. I just think it's just so sketchy, like what they did with that fake data. He admitted he was wrong about, so almost everything he said was wrong, but he didn't admit he was wrong about everything. He admitted that he was wrong about how long to digest food. He said that was a search that she did first or something. How long to digest food. You know, because she was worried about like if they were going to be able to tell how long he's been dead or something. And I mean, that's what they put it into. But like, it turned out that was whatever folder it was in. It was something that like comes up automatically. It was something that, you know how like when you type into Google, sometimes it like gives you pictures and it's like, is this what you want before you're done typing? It was that kind of thing. And all the other experts knew that immediately just from the name of the folder that it came from. Rick Green is either purposely doing it or he does not know how to use the software at all. So it's like, okay, that's your expert. Like he does not even doesn't even know the software. He's not certified. It's just such a joke because all that stuff could be thrown out. I mean, I don't think they can get away with that again because all that stuff, I mean, I don't think Rick Green will want to do that to himself again. I mean, I think he's looking pretty bad right now because everyone's talking about this. Like everyone in the data forensic community is talking about this case because there's a lot of people that do cell phone analysis and nobody, not one person has come out to say, "Oh yeah, Rick Green is right." Nobody. So, I mean, he's really screwing himself over. Like that's his business. He's supposed to be an expert that testifies and that, you know, does extractions. And now he's getting this reputation that he doesn't even know how to read the basic reports or that he's going to misrepresent the data and be disingenuous with his testimony or with his affidavits. He's going to perjure himself for money. I mean, that's what it looks like right now. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just so messy. It's so messy. So that's the thing. Like, I'm just like, F these people. I mean, if I was in Lally's position, I would call the sister-in-law in, I would call the brother, and I would call the father and let them perjure the fuck out of themselves. Because it's like, well, I see you staring at the taillight, so what are you looking at? Did you have any conversations about the taillight? Like, do you know why, you know, did you know the car was damaged? Are they all going to say no? I mean, if they were honest, if she really did not just had a cracked taillight, they would have testified to that in a heartbeat. they would have been on the defense witness list. They would have been like, nope, the car, there was nothing wrong. There was just a small crack in the taillight and all the bulbs were there. But they can't because they were afraid that it was probably caught on camera. They didn't want to perjure themselves. But if they were telling the truth, they could have just told the truth. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is with car accidents, so Newton law physics doesn't apply to a clipped rear end car accident. It's very uncommon for adults to get hit in the rear end of the car. And so the thing is, though, with car accidents, there's like a million, every injury is different. Like whether you're a pedestrian or in the car, people die and they're like, how did this person die? They're only going 25. People live when the car is freaking destroyed sometimes. Like there's not a common thing to go by. So it's very like difficult to say without testing. Like you can't just without testing. Like there's all kinds of different positions he could have been in. He could have been diving out of the way at the time when he got hit. We don't know. And so you can't just like have a blanket statement like, yes, it doesn't look like common traditional pedestrian accident. That's correct. It does not look like he got thrown on the hood of the car and hit the windshield like a traditional pedestrian accident he was backed into. And the problem with reversing into people, a lot of time it's kids because they're lower and they can't be seen and they usually go under the vehicle. But most of the time the rear collisions are slow, are like very slow. So it's not like, this is not a normal accident. People don't speed and reverse and hit people. Like it never happens. Yeah, there's just so many variables. I mean, they were set out to have a certain position. Like it's undeniable. Like they're litigation consultants. Like they literally go to trial. Whether it's the defense or the prosecution, whoever signs a contract with them, they're like, this is what my case is, and this is what I need you to like prove or disprove this. Like they know what they're doing before they go into the contract. And that's what litigation consultants do. That's what litigation experts do. Like it doesn't mean that they're lying. It means that they are an opinion and they're going to use facts and stuff that will support that opinion. Are they just blindly coming to that opinion on their own? I mean, no. It seems like they try to make it out to be that way, but no, absolutely not. Because why would those experts were just strange. Like, why are you throwing the glass at the car? I mean, I get it. I guess, like, see if the thing breaks, but the glass was laying next to him on the ground. And so, like, that's part of it. Like, they weren't allowed to do anything except, like, injuries in the car. So, like, where he landed, whether his shoe was off, like, a lot of that was not, like, considered. They were just looking at the injuries only. And they only looked at the head injury because that was the fatal injury. So they really didn't do a thorough analysis. And who knows, because a lot of those contracts are based on hours too. So they must have been like, oh, we're going to give you 100 hours or 50 hours to do this analysis. And so those two professionals assessed, like, how many tests can we do? How many different things can we do? And within those hours. And that is their job. I need to plug this thing in. 1 second. I don't know why. Sometimes I have like a port, and sometimes it charges the computer and sometimes it doesn't. So the computer's just like, I'm about to die. But it's plugged into the port, which charges it sometimes. I don't know. But yes, everyone that knows that couple, John and Karen as a couple, thinks she's guilty. I don't see any really. She has that one guy, John Silvestri, that supports her. I don't know if it's the same one, but I try to look him up and it seems like, I don't know. He might have a shady past. I have no idea. I found one guy that he lives in the same area. It doesn't look like him though. But he was like used to host parties for underage girls, and he got in trouble for doing some things. I don't know if it's a guy though. It's same exact name, and they're both from like that Attleboro area. I mean, that's where Dighton and all, like Mansfield, Dighton, like all those places are in, like towards Rhode Island. I don't know. But I know she has that friend, and that's the one that she was on the phone with when the cops came to seize her phones. He's the one that she goes to visit in Florida. It must be nice to like have to be able to take your trips to Florida, even though you're charged with murder. But my daughter was ejected from a car. She flew to the windshield and landed in dead. She didn't have a scratch on her. See, that's the thing. Like, there's just all kinds of so many variables. Like, there's just no really way to know. It depends on how you're sitting in the seat, and if you're tense, like that's a big thing too. If you're tense or if you're loose, a lot of the times when people are drunk, they get less injuries because they don't tense up and their body is just like loose when it has the impact. If you're all tensed up, like you get a lot worse injuries. That was something I learned at one point. So I was like, oh, so it's better to be drunk when you're in an accident? That's interesting. But there's just a million different variables. And, that doesn't apply if you're hit in the head like John O'Keefe was. Definitely slower reaction times. Yeah, the microscopic taillight pieces in his clothing can't be planted. I mean, I don't even think the other pieces can be planted, to be honest. I mean, he's in the... I don't know the exact timeline. I bet the Innocence Fraud blog has it. They do have like a very full timeline. I want to look at it though, and just look at the CERT team, because the thing is, we saw the car in the Sally Port. We see Yuri and Proctor in there with the car. We know that they're like at least in front of the house at 5, and then they finished their search by like 6:15. So, and there was like 8 guys. So for them to have planted it, they would have had to have come there while there's 8 guys digging through the snow, and sprinkled it like right in front of them, or like, look over there. Like, it just does not make any sense. There's just no way. Or maybe Karen is just the unluckiest person on the planet. No. She had 7. The cult even argues about her even having alcohol, which is bizarre to me, because I mean, they got her blood alcohol. They didn't get it at the time. They got it the next day. And we see her on camera with those drinks, pouring shots into the drink. And, there's at least 7 at the waterfall that I could see. And then I never looked at not the waterfall, McCarthy's. We see 7 at the McCarthy's. And then allegedly there's 2 at waterfall. I've never looked closely at the waterfall video. I just think that video is like hard. Like, it's hard to see anything. I can't tell who's who. So I don't know. I guess there's 2 drinks there. But even if it was just 7, like, that's too many to be driving. Yeah, she also called him 18 times in the day. Yeah, she's in psycho. I mean, maybe that's why he called her a whack job. Like, that's torture, someone calling you all the time. I was looking at her messages too. There was like a plumber, or yeah, she had to have a plumber come to the house that night. So like a lot of her calls and stuff are missing, which is strange. Like, they didn't include all of her calls, but there was like a plumber that I think she had no hot water at her house in Mansfield. And there was a plumber that she was talking to, and she had to meet him. And that's why she wasn't at McCarthy's at the beginning of the night when John got there. She was like meeting the plumber to see if whatever it was could be fixed, because she had no hot water in one of the bathrooms, or it was like lukewarm in the shower, and there was like no hot water at all in one of her other rooms. And so the plumber was coming to fix something. And she said in our text, like, he showed me something that was all rusted. I don't know, but he's going to Home Depot now. And then, so then he comes back, and I guess he fixed it. Or no, he had to come back the next morning. And so Karen says, I can either just not set the alarm so you can come back in, or I can leave later tonight, like after having 9 vodkas, I can go back to Mansfield. Yeah, that was a terrible idea. But then we never hear about the plumber the next day, because did the plumber go to the house? I mean, what happened to the plumber? Why aren't his calls in there? Because if he was going to come back the next morning, like, there would have been a text or a call saying, are you going to let me in, or it's all fixed, or anything. But that's not in her data. So did he just not show up? Like, he definitely showed up. So that's strange. Yeah, nobody knows where you are after she just left really speaks to intent. Like, she was saying that just to cover her tracks, make it sound like she had no idea where I was. Yeah, I mean, I think that 100%. It's just so bizarre. Like, whatever was going on in her head was not normal. Because, so she's saying, John, I hate you. That's our first message. You know, she never called. So, like, she was never sitting outside the house waiting for him. He never went inside the house. He was stopped moving in front of the house as she drove away. Like, she obviously hit him. I just can't even understand how anyone can get their head around the fact that she hit him. Like, she didn't, like, there's no possible way that she didn't hit him. Or at least clip him. Like, did someone else come out of the, I mean, there's just, the options are very limited to what could have happened. Could she have clipped him and that didn't kill him? Sure, maybe. But what are the odds? And what happened to him? And there was no footprints on the snow. I don't know. I can't get around like what people are thinking. And so she hits him and she starts calling incessantly. Like, I think it's 12:33, 34, 35, 36, 37. And at 12:37, she screams, John, I effing hate you. And at that point, she had already connected to the Wi-Fi, but I don't think she was in the house yet, because then there's a message at 12:41 and you can hear the garage door shutting and you can hear her heels on the garage floor. It seems like she's in the garage. So at 12:37, she could have still been sitting in her car, maybe pulled up to the house, but connected to the Wi-Fi. I think at 12:41, she probably saw the back of her car damaged. And then the next thing, she texts at 12:55 saying, I'm going home. Which is, I think she meant to Mansfield, I guess. And then she says, nobody knows where you are. Her next voicemail. Nobody knows where the F you are. Which is strange. Like, it is strange. Like, she is messed up. Like, I feel like she's, like, I could see she's trying to pretend like she dropped him off somewhere. I think she definitely knew she hit him. She probably didn't think that he, I don't know. I don't think she stopped and looked at him. I think she just drove away as soon as she hit him. So I don't think that she like knew that she hit him as bad as she did. I think when she saw the damage, she might have been like, I effing hate you, or whatever. It seems like she blames everybody else for her problems. And then she doesn't know where he is. And then she calls her parents. And, you know, because she had to let the plumber in. I mean, maybe that's what the whole thing was about. Because they were saying that on the text, that she was going to go back either tonight and meet the plumber. But, like, why would you have 9 drinks and then drive, I don't know how many miles it is, 15, 20 miles, Um, it's weird. Why not just let him in the house? I mean, when I had a house, I just always let people in. I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, what are they gonna take? Let's unlock the door. I'll just leave a key for you. Like, I don't know. Karen suffers from borderline personality disorder. I've seen a few people say that. I think it could be true. That's the abandonment thing. I see like histrionic and narcissism based on, and I don't know all of the details of all of them, but like histrionic is like just really wants attention, even if it's negative attention. Narcissism really wants praise and adoration. I don't know, just a lot of the stuff that she's done in this trial or in the pre-trial has been for attention. I feel like she likes it. Like, you can kind of tell she enjoys it. She has a documentary film crew following her around, and I mean, imagine knowing that you're guilty and you're hiring a documentary film crew to follow you around so you can keep blaming all of the innocent people for what you did. Like, that is some sick shit. But yeah, borderline personality. Also, another one is like when she was threatening to commit suicide the next morning. That is a borderline trait. That's definitely not a narcissistic trait. I don't know about histrionic, maybe. Could be. And then whatever pills she had in her purse, and her mother was like, don't let her have the pills in her purse. I mean, what were they, Xanax? I mean, she definitely is nuts. Like, you can see it in her interviews when she's so agitated by the questions that they're asking, and she just gets so fired up. And Turtle Boy and his, side conversations about talking to her said that she got like that with him too. She'd get very irritated and aggravated. You can see that she gets like that with her attorneys. She is just very impatient, and so she probably is on something. It might be, it's probably Xanax, but that's not like that's a per event drug, but she's probably also on something that's I don't know though. You on those crazy drugs, like, you cannot be drinking alcohol. Like, that fucks you up. Like, most of the nutty drugs you cannot be drinking. Like, I think you can potentially die and stuff. Like, I think there's all kinds of warnings on any of the like Prozac or any of those. And alcohol, it's especially like binge drinking like 9 drinks. So I don't know. I wonder what the pills are. But she definitely takes something, because she's like, you can see that she's nuts. Yeah, her lawyers were terrible. I mean, I'm still annoyed by the judge letting in a lot of the stuff that she let in. I just don't think, and I don't know the law, so maybe she's just following the law. It does seem like a lot of the time she was following the law, but I'm just like, how is it okay to let all this bullshit come in that has no relevance just to like damage the character of the witnesses, when we weren't allowed to hear any character witnesses on Karen Reed, the actual murder suspect. The 2 girls in Aruba, those were not character witnesses. That was an event, because like character witnesses were like excluded from the trial during the pre-trial, and I don't know why that is, because I know like I've seen it in trials before. So I just don't get it. Like, I don't understand, because I feel like everything that they, like Colin Albert's like Snapchat, that was character related, because that had nothing to do with anybody in this case. That had to do with literally high school kids talking smack to each other. It has nothing to do with this case. And it's strange that would be allowed in, but then nothing on Karen Reed's character was let in. The only stuff that was let in was stuff that was directly related to people in this case, like the Brian Higgins stuff. That was because it was directly, related to someone that was there that night, and it kind of was talking about the relationship deteriorating. I don't know. It's really weird, and I just don't like. I think that the stuff with Proctor, I just don't think that it's right at all. I don't understand like how that could be let in. I mean, they didn't have like, when do you get rights to your investigator's cell phones? Like, imagine, because I would imagine that homicide detectives talk a lot of shit about the killers that they're trying to build a case against. I mean, I just think that's par for the course. Like, you see someone did horrible things to somebody, you're gonna have emotional reactions that, it's not part of your professional career, but like, you're human. So, I mean, I just don't understand. It's like, it's so weird. Yeah, I think she hit him. I don't think she thought he was dead until she fell asleep and then woke up and realized that he never answered her. I think she probably thought he was pissed and like wasn't answering. Like, he probably got up and went in the house, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't think she was thinking too straight. The thing though is that she, before 5 a.m. or at 5 a.m., she was saying she got hit by a plow. So she knew he was going to be found dead on the side of the road. She knew where to find him, and she just didn't know how to go about it. I don't know. Yes, the mother does. She looks like she got hit in the face with a frying pan. She looks like birds are flying around her head like one of those cartoons. And then the father just looks like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. And her and her brother look like The Simpsons too. Like, they all look like Simpsons. A lot of people are commenting that her and her brother look like Curious George, which is true. I do see it. I do see the resemblance. Yeah, that's the thing. There's nobody, not one person would ever think he got hit by a plow. He didn't have a jacket on. Like, why would he be walking? Like, she knew he didn't have a jacket on. So he was running in the house, like they were in the bars. Like, why would he get hit by a plow? There's just not the conclusion that you would draw. It's awful that she hit him and left him there. It really is. It's awful. She knew he didn't have a jacket on. I mean, I don't think she was thinking straight. Like, I think she did it in the rage. I don't think she meant to do it. I think she meant to hit him. And then, she left him. I mean, if I hit someone with my car, I would definitely stop. Like, even if I was pissed, I would make sure they were okay, especially in the freezing cold with no jacket. I don't know. I don't think she had enough time to stop and look, though. It's just so strange. I'm sure that someone has. You know what's really another very strange thing is that Jen McCabe's 911 call, she does say we flipped him over. I heard it clear as day. We just flipped him over. But like, nobody was asked about that detail. Nobody from the prosecution or the defense, and it's weird. It's weird because I think that the reconstructionist considered him on his back as his final like resting place. But like the descriptions like that they say that they all testify to doesn't sound like they flipped him over, because Carrie says that Karen runs up to him and lifts up his shirt and starts like laying on him. And then Kerry runs over and digs his head out of the snow. No, they don't say they flipped him over. And then Jen McCabe says she saw Kerry clearing the snow off John O'Keefe's face, which could mean that they flipped him over and that's when she saw him clearing the snow off his face. I don't know. It just makes a lot more sense if he was face down, though, why he would have the skull fracture on the back of his head and then his front of his face was messed up. It's just strange that, I mean, I just can't imagine why they, unless they're just so disorganized. I don't know. I just feel like Lally would have, I don't know. Maybe he just didn't have time to dig into all these details. I have no idea. It's just a very strange thing. Like if that was left out, because part of me thinks that maybe it was left out from the initial investigation and like they built their case and their reconstruction around him being on his back and then they didn't want to change it. But that would be something that the defense would have freaking harped on like vultures. I don't know. She definitely says that they flipped him over, but she maybe, I don't know. I just can't decide what the deal is with the flipping of him over. If she just thought they did and she just didn't know. Yeah, we'll see what the news is tomorrow. I just wish that she would just be a normal person. And I mean, if she really did get an involuntary manslaughter plea deal for 16 months, she should have taken that. Like, what is she thinking? Like, they didn't get her off. She spent $500,000 and she has to do it again. Like, it didn't work. This is an epic failure. And I don't even know what attorney would look at the evidence that we have in this case and be like, oh yeah, your best shot is to go to trial. I mean, no way in hell. Plead out. Are you crazy? Rita is the head furry of the Free Karen Reid movement. Her brother worked for Lexus. Maybe that's why she had to get the car back to Dighton. I mean, I think they just wanted to get the car out of there. I think that because her father said on TV that she said, Dad, I was backing up, I hit something. I mean, she was saying the taillight to other people. I'm sure she said it to her family too. So I think that they were like, let's get it out of here. But they really didn't do anything with the car. It doesn't seem like. Or maybe they did. We just don't know about it. But her brother works at Lexus, and that's the big thing. That's the big thing for me, is that her brother works at Lexus. So her brother has access to the most credible experts that could read that vehicle control history and testify to her not doing it if she didn't, right? But I think the vehicle control history like really nails her coffin shut. I think it's undisputable. So like, even if, I think that's why they didn't have an expert. Because I just don't think there's a way around it. Because if there was, if the Commonwealth was wrong, if Trooper Paul was wrong about that vehicle control history, they absolutely could have an expert testify and refute it and say, you know, you're reading it completely wrong. It was the wrong day, wrong time, wrong key cycle, whatever. But they couldn't get an expert to say that. I mean, that's extremely telling. Because, I mean, they have experts. I mean, I'm sure that that's one of the first things they looked at. I'm sure that as soon as they got that, he ran that to like people at his work and was like, can you help me with this? You know? So there's no way. Jackson isn't there. Tomorrow he'll be zooming in. Like, is he still her lawyer? I mean, I feel like we're going to find out tomorrow that Jackson's not her lawyer anymore. It's going to be Yannetti and his sister. They're not going to do third party culprit. I don't know if they would announce that so soon, but I don't think they're going to do it. I just don't think. Rick Green's not going to testify for that shit again, I don't think. They didn't have anything else besides Rick Green, and he freaking was horrible. Like, if you really think, if you're on the conspiracy side, nothing that they said was true. Nothing. I mean, Trooper Proctor called her some names. That's it. You know, they found pieces of the taillight in her shirt and around his body and this and that. Like, what part of the conspiracy? I mean, the dog bites. I mean, I think the Commonwealth can do better with that and just nip that in the bud. I mean, the Commonwealth's medical examiner, is that what her name is? Yeah, medical examiner. She has a whack job. When Trooper Proctor said she's a whack job, she was a whack job. She was not good testifying. Like, she's just like, oh, it could be. It's likely and unlikely at the same time. Like, every answer was just so ambiguous. It's like, you're a medical examiner. You should know how to testify. She just kept everything so open-ended. It was just like, not good. I wish they could. They can't get rid of her either because she was the one that dealt with the body. Maybe better question. I don't know. She's going to give the same kind of dumb answers again, though. Where she's like, oh, it could be from a punch or from a weight or from this or from that. I don't know. Did they ask her about dog bites? I don't remember. I don't think they did. I think that should have been a question that they asked her. They might have been afraid to ask her, though. It's like, what if she was like, it could be? I mean, do I even want to know who Carl is? I don't know who Carl is either. I haven't been seeing this in the comments that Carl's channel about Karen Reed. Carl. Is that MicroDolts? Like, I don't know. I've been on Kevin's show before. A couple times. And I see his posts on X. I mean, that's what I would do. I would just go ham on these people. I would call Turtle Boy. Like, I would call the whole clown troupe. I would call Rita. I would call Turtle Boy. I would call all those people. And just be like, whoa. When? Because, I mean, it's hearsay, but there's definitely questions that could be asked. Like, how did you get a hold? I guess maybe that's the witness intimidation trial. That's the thing that they're trying to keep separate. But if I was Lely, I'd be fighting to bring all the scumbags in to show the jury the kind of company that Karen Reed keeps. I absolutely would bring the sister, because I have a feeling that the sister-in-law is not going to lie. She's not going to risk her. I just don't think she's going to lie. I mean, there's a higher likelihood that she won't lie. The brother and the father, I don't know. I think they're going to be afraid to lie too. But the sister-in-law, I just, if I was in that situation, I would not lie. I can't imagine. Yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine being in a situation where I would have to like lie about a murder. I don't know. But the further removed, like the sister-in-law, I'd be like, freaking lock that whack job up. Because, I mean, she has to know that Karen did it. So, I mean, she probably is like secretly lock her up. Like, don't let that bitch near my kids. She needs to go to prison. I mean, oh my God, imagine Rita on the stand. I just hope that Lally gets help. Like, he could probably get like a special prosecutor to help him prosecute the case. I think he does need help. I'm surprised that the Commonwealth let him do it by himself, like the last case, because it's like is like 1 against 4, because it was the 3 attorneys, but Karen is educated and she knows. I'm sure she was pulling a lot of the strings, heavily involved. Like, she was definitely heavily involved. She was giving them papers, circling things. Like, she was like very much a part of it. So it really was 4 against 1, and they were all much more aggressive than he was. He needs to like come up with some better questions, not like the what if any a million times. Like, can't you just ask, like, what if anything did you see? Can't you just say, did you see anything when you pulled up to the house? Not what if anything. Like, that's torture. Like, can't you just directly ask people? Like, I know that they don't want leading questions, but I mean, Jackson was doing it the whole entire time. And then making comments. Like, you're never supposed to do that. Like, you're supposed to be asking questions. But like, when he was asking Jen McCabe about being harassed, he's like, oh, I bet it was real bad. Like, that was like unbelievable to me. I'm like, what is going on here? Yeah, get his phone. I mean, they'd have to be pretty dumb to like text stuff about a murder, but you never know. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't lie about that unless it was my mom or kid. Maybe even then, I don't know. That's the thing. It's like, it's tricky because if it was, we see it all the time. Like, parents are getting in trouble for their killer kids all the time lately. Like that woman, I can't think of what his name was. It was like that young kid that stabs that young girl in the woods like 70 times or something. And he was caught on a ring cam, like walking with her last. And the mother found his jeans and washed them. And like, when he was getting interrogated, he was like underage. When he was getting interrogated, she was like, be careful what you say. This will change your life. Like, it's just unbelievable. But she put herself in a situation where I think she got charged. And so that's the thing too. Like, you don't want to go down because they might be going down anyway. It's like, you don't want to like put yourself in that position to be caught lying. Like, I would not lie. I don't think I would lie, period. I might not like go and offer up information, I guess. I don't know. It'd be hard it would depend on what actually happened. If it was an accident or something, it's different. I'm just looking at a lot of these cases lately too, and I'm trying to put a video together because it's like the sentences that people get for killing people with the car is like, it's out there. It's all over the map. Like, the worst one that I've seen is 24 years for this kid in Tampa, and it was an accident. No intent whatsoever. He was racing, so I mean, it was reckless. But 24 years for that, and killed 2 people. But this other girl recently in Illinois killed 2 people on purpose, and it's murder. I think first degree, premeditated murder, and she got 15 years. Or it's 15 years to life, which, what do you mean? Like, because every state is so different. But it's like, how is the kid that did it, that killed people, just being reckless, not even drinking, potentially getting more time than a girl that set out to kill her boyfriend and his friend in a car? And that's the thing. Like, I don't think Karen's going to get a lot of time, even if she is found guilty. because I don't think I think that I just don't see that they're going to get a jury that's going to be like, okay, second degree murder. I think that it's valid. I think the charge is valid, but I just think that they're going to come somewhere in the middle. She's going to get manslaughter, and I think that's 5 years minimum. But that's like unbelievable if she only gets 5 years when all these like other kids that kill people by accident get like 15 years. It's just crazy. I don't know. It's just our justice system is so unbalanced and unfair. Because I mean, I think that she is responsible. Like, I think she knows better. She's not a kid. She's an educated adult. And she just should have more culpability than, a kid that's racing when he's 18 years old. Because, yeah, he definitely needs to be held accountable, but she knows better. Especially, she knew she hit him. She knew it was cold out. She could have called 911. She never called 911. That's like so unbelievable. And if you think about it, Casey Anthony never called 911 either. That's guilty people. Casey Anthony, the kid was missing for a month before she like told her mother, and then the mother called 911 hysterical. But like, I don't know. If I thought my significant other was dead on the side of the road, I wouldn't round up the troops to have someone else call 911. It's just so bizarre. Yeah, the whole ring situation. I mean, it seems like it's weird to me that Ring does not have records, but I don't know. They didn't really let them. They gave them some narrative, but they couldn't use hearsay, so we couldn't hear what they told Trooper Proctor. And he was trying to figure out how to like say it differently without saying they said. And then they moved on. But I think there was some information there that we didn't get. I mean, Ring should provide. I mean, I guess they don't want to have Ring come out just to testify that, we couldn't find anything. But that girl did it because our TikTok fame was waning, which is disgusting. Is that why? I mean, there's a free, whatever her name is, free Kenzie Shrilla, I think her name is. There's a free Kenzie Shrilla. There's a free Cameron Herron, free Karen Reed. And then there's another girl, but I don't think anyone wants to free her, but she's awful. The other girl killed 2 people drunk driving and was just like, didn't give a shit. The cops like telling her repeatedly, you just killed 2 people. And she's like, well, can I get my car? I need to go to school tomorrow. And he's like, you are going to jail, you idiot. And she just didn't give a shit. She did not give a shit. She only got like 15 years, which I don't know. I don't know. Everything just seems so unbalanced when you look at a lot of these cases, because a lot of people for second degree murder in Florida, like second degree murder, a lot of people get 20 years. And that's less time than someone that accidentally killed people in a car accident. That just doesn't make sense to me. That second degree murder, I don't know, 20 years does not seem like enough for second degree murder to me at all. But a lot of people, I don't know what the different things in different states are, but second degree murder is not, like 20 years is a lot of time, but it's a murder. Like, what are you talking about? The trooper testified that the only device that logged into his account was his phone. I sort of remember this. Well, they checked the laptop at his house to see if it was logged in, I think, and it wasn't. But I don't think that means that someone else that didn't know the password didn't log in and do something. They only checked the devices they had access to. So, like, if Karen knew the password, she could have gone on her own computer and messed with it. Yeah, the key cycles are confusing. I think that they have to get someone to explain it better. I think it's very damning. I don't think it's really debatable, especially considering that they didn't bring an expert to dispute it. Karen Reed was in a narcissistic rage fueled by alcohol, giving Jo the ultimate discard. She didn't want to save him. She wanted revenge. I mean, it does seem like that. It does seem like she was angry. It does seem like even when she talks about him, she gets pissed off. Like when she was talking about the fight in Aruba, like that interview that she did with Nightline, it's just, I was watching a show on body language experts and they were like looking at her and they're just like, she's nuts. They were like, we can't tell because we don't know the baseline, but one of the main things is, I'm not a body language expert, but I know from watching cases, when asked, did you kill him? Did you do this? The normal answer is, without hesitation, the person emphatically says no. Karen Reed does not ever answer that question emphatically, ever. When she was on the steps of the courthouse, she just froze and said, we know who did it. We all know who did it. You all know. In the interview, when she was asked who did it, she very robot-like said, I have never harmed a hair on John O'Keefe's head. Like, not emphatic, not like exasperated, not like, of course not. It's just not the normal innocent response. And it doesn't even mean, it doesn't, and so when people give that response, it doesn't necessarily mean that, yes, they did it, but it could also mean that they don't know. It could mean that she was so drunk she doesn't know, which I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case at all. She knows. I don't think they got, so yes, James Hamlet, good point. Prosecution should have history logs of computers of both Jo home and Reed home. They definitely went through John O'Keefe's laptop. They did not get access to Karen Reed's laptop. And in the affidavit, the original affidavit, they specifically say that when they showed up to her house to interview her that day to seize her car, she was on a laptop. But they did not get access to that laptop. I've never seen that in Discovery. So whatever she did on that laptop, she's probably looking up DUI lawyers. Maybe it was her parents' laptop. So like they're never going to get access if it's the parent. They're not. I mean, I don't think they'll get anything else. Now, I don't think that it's possible. I think she definitely had John sign in. I mean, they were together for 2 years and he got the ring while they were together. So I would say that she definitely had access to it. They also tested there was no evidence that she deleted anything. Well, they know that there was stuff deleted. They just don't know when or how or who, but there was stuff that was deleted. I think that it did tell them that there was like a certain number of events. So they know there was events recorded that were deleted. But they didn't see it happening on his laptop. They probably checked her phone and they didn't see it happening from her phone. So that leaves another laptop that leaves someone doing it from his phone. Those are the two options, I guess. But I think his phone would have that on there in the history. So I don't think it'd have it from his phone either. Yes, they can, and I think they should. Oh, I wonder. So they didn't see any logins either. So I missed that if they did say that. Unless, well, it wasn't on her phone, unless it was already logged in somewhere else. I don't know who testified about the ring, because I remember them. I feel like they didn't get into it that much that I remember. I remember them asking Proctor about it, and he barely said anything. I know Yuri read like a thing from Ring that was like, we didn't see anything. It was sketchy though, because he had never seen it before and the defense had it, so it didn't seem like, I don't know. I just feel like they didn't. I don't think that they proved anything. I think it basically just said, we don't have a record of the data. We don't keep records of that. Once it's gone, it's gone. I mean, that's what I got from the parts that I saw. Yeah, she hasn't shown much emotion at all. She doesn't seem sad that he died. She just, the only emotion I see is aggravation. I don't even think that's an emotion. Disdain, maybe. That was the thing the body experts pointed out too, is that when she was talking about, you'd be hard pressed to find anyone that didn't care for John. He's the patron saint of Canton. They said that they saw disdain in her body language, which is interesting. So I could see that she could be resentful because everyone did love John. So she was not getting her narcissistic supply because she was like his side character, his co-star, and not the center of attention. Yeah, they talked about her Botox. They said she had the most Botox they've ever seen on a person. Like her forehead didn't even move. She called him the body. She does always hesitate when asked. It's weird. It's because I mean, I feel like at this point she's been asked that so many times that she should know the answer by now. Like she gets like stumped. And when they asked about the taillight, she got stumped with that too. She like freezes. That's her tell, I think. I'm trying to think of what else. When she was asked about how many drinks she had, she just started about that. Yeah, I mean, that was there was a few statements in there. I incapacitated him in his drunkenness, where she seems very coached. I never harmed her hair on John O'Keefe's head. She seems coached because the way that she talks is more like, eh. She just like blurts things out like, because he's dead, and those ones are more like, I never harmed a hair on John O'Keefe's head, like very like monotonous and not like, it's very coached. I think it's super obvious. It's very politician-like to never answer that question, with a yes or no. it's a misdirection, basically. So I don't know. I don't know why they didn't get access to her laptop. I mean, she had good lawyers, so they probably fought everything. I mean, I think that I mean, if you look at what was allowed into this case, very little was allowed about Karen Reed, but all this bullshit was allowed about the investigators and about the witnesses. Yeah, that's what I was watching about that's what I remember from the Ring conversation. And he was trying to like think of how to say it. I think that's pretty much what we know, is that there was indication of something being deleted, or that there was something there, but they don't have any record of it. I wonder if there is more information about it. I would be screaming, hell no, I didn't do it. I loved him, but not her evil witch butt. I know, like she's saying, oh no, we were just dating. We were just dating. That was like so bizarre when she said that outside the courthouse. Like, it's kind of disgusting, because it's like she really did not like him at the end of the relationship. Like I mean, I think it was a murder. Like, I think that I don't think she intended to kill him at the time, but she let him die. And I think she let him die on the right side of the road, like roadkill. And she's not sad about it. She's gross. I know. Imagine if we could just know everything that was going on at Sidebar all the time. I guarantee that there's a lot more dirt on Karen, but she just has her aggressive lawyers that are fighting. Sunny Spirit, check her out. Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, families know when families are the first ones to know. And I mean, they wait for the police to do their job, but families know, or have a hunch, they have a gut feeling, like mother's intuition. The mom knew right away and said it to Paul, saying, do you think she had something to do with it? That's mother's intuition. Mothers know. People know. Like, you can sense that shit. Like, even like Karen not answering the question outside the courthouse, like, those are just undeniable signs of guilt. And especially if you know the person. I mean, I see it. I don't even know her, but I can just tell that that's not a normal response, a deflection. Just to be clear, Karen, you didn't do it. We know who did it, Steve. We know. Like, all pissed off. Like, what does she think reporters are going to be asking her? Like, you're on trial for murder. Of course, that's a question that you're going to be asked. I found her, like, she has good rating with students. I don't think it's like an important class though, so I think it might just be like is it professorgrades.com or something? I think she had like an A+ or something, meaning like all the students liked her. But she might have just been a really easy grader. Like, that's just a lot of, who knows. See if I can find her. I used to rate my professors. I actually never agreed with the ratings on these, ever. I can't find it right now. But I have looked at it, and she got an A, and it was, I think she like taught like it was something in finance, and it was basically seemed like she was like an easy grader, or it was like a not important course or a elective or whatever. It's definitely because of the Josh Levy nonsense. And that's what I'm like, if that wraps up, if that investigation wraps up, I think that there's definitely motions that can be filed by the Commonwealth to say, well, the investigation found nothing, so now none of that information should be allowed in the trial, which would be great. And it's a possibility. It's just really weird how they let all these like random ass text messages come in. Like, yeah, she told everyone at the scene John was her husband. Why? I've heard mixed responses about this. Some people say like that's what you say so that you can get into the hospital and whatever and be with them, which maybe was the case, but it could just be that she's crazy, or she was looking for sympathy. Moms know, they know. The weed whacker. Some ring cams can be unplugged and they stop recording. Interesting. I mean, I've seen people debating about where the keypad to the garage door was. I don't know why it's important, but I mean, maybe it is, and I'm just not understanding why it's important right now. But so Karen Reed hits him, she gets back to the house, she connects to the Wi-Fi at 12:36. 12:37, she leaves that voicemail, says she hates him. And then 12:41, we hear her walking around the garage. So that means, for 5 minutes or so, 5 minutes, she was there, close enough to be to the Wi-Fi, but not in the house yet. So it sounds like she had to like get out of her car, maybe, and go inside the house and open the garage door from inside. Some people say the keypad is outside. I don't know if that makes a difference. Maybe it does. But then the other people said that they couldn't get the keypad to work the next morning. So I don't know what that's about. Like, I feel like there was a point there that Lally never got to. But I'm thinking that maybe she didn't know the code to the keypad, but she had the password, like the master password, so she had to change the code to open the door. That's what I got out of it, but I mean, he never made that point, but that could be true. Because you know how like there's a master password and then like you have user passwords, and so like maybe the master password to get in and change the code, she had that but didn't know the user password or something. And so like she changed it, and then the niece and Mike Camerano couldn't get it to shut. I don't know if that has anything to do with the ring cam though. All right, I am going to close out this live. We will see what happens tomorrow, and I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know. It's probably going to be a circus. I think people are going to be amped up. Maybe they'll be throwing balloons at each other. Like, who knows? I believe she deleted them from Titan. And the Josh Levy situation is concerning. I just think that he needs to wrap it up. and, move on. I don't think that, I think it was super improper, like the way that they just let in all that information. I think the judge knows that that's the reason that there was a mistrial. So, I don't know. We'll have to see. All right. Good night, guys.